Hello, everybody. My name is Reynaldo Rodriguez. I am a candidate master from Venezuela. We are here again in Reynaldo's chess lessons. Today, we are going to be commenting the last the round number 8 of the Norway Chess Classic. Okay, an important round to decide the leader of the tournament, played between Magnus Carlsen and the promising racing star Alireza Firouzja, the Iranian grandmaster that now is playing with Fidel Flag. Okay, in this game, Firouzja was playing with white pieces and Magnus with black pieces. So let's start to see the analysis and comments. Okay, white open the game with knight f3. This is a very flexible way to start the game. Okay, knight f6 and g3. With this structure, seems to be like white is going to prepare a kind of King's Indian attack, but it's too early to say that because still white can play d4, c4, b3 with a double fianchetto. So Magnus plays c5, okay, controlling the d4 square, and probably now no, it's too simple for white play d4. It's still possible, but that in case of d4, that is going to transpose to kind of Grunfeld defense with inverted colors, okay? Grunfeld defense methods, I mean. So bishop g2, knight c6, reinforcing the control on d4. And now after short castle, e5, okay? With this move, black is grabbing some space, and probably is going to try, if he can for sure, to continue with d5 to create a kind of Marozcy setup, okay? Especially if white goes for d3 and c5, okay? Will be like a kind of dragon Sicilian with inverted colors as well. But in this position, Alireza plays a super interesting move, e4, that seems to be like is leaving the pawn hanging. But really the move is very ambitious because this move has to be done in the standard King's Indian attack setup, okay? But the fact that white push the pawn directly is going to kick the possibility, as we are going to see in a later stage of the game, to try to play d4 in only one move supported by c3, like in the Ruy Lopez, okay? For sure, this plan is a bit risky because it involves the sacrifice of a central pawn. But this central pawn at the moment is blocking the bishop in the diagonal. So remove the central pawn or accept the sacrifice is going to open the file for the rook and the diagonal for the bishop. And with the king still in the middle, is playable, but really in the practice, a very risky decision, for black. So Magnus continue with d6, okay, just supporting the pawn on e5, and also opening the diagonal for the last square bishop. And here, now c3, preparing the d4 pawn advance. This move is critical because the pawn is still hanging on e4, and after the move d6, the center is more solid. So if there is a time to capture the pawn, okay, maybe interesting to do that right now. But in any case, the capture of the pawn, white can play d4 to try to open the center, and with a quickly rook incoming, black can be in trouble. So for that reason, Magnus just decides to play g6. This is a very curious move because having a square available, do the fianchetto, don't look too natural. But probably a possible justification of that is that it's very clear that white is going to play d4. So the center is going to be open. With the center open, the bishop in the fianchetto location, no, it's too bad. So d4. Now, okay, white is pushing the pawn to d5. In some case, we need more space. So black capture, and now bishop g4, okay? Bishop g4 anticipate the advance to d5 because now after the advance to d5, black can simply jump to d4, increasing the pressure on the pin because the outputs on d4 is ready to be taken due to the pin on g4. Okay, so white capture, black capture, and now knight c3. So bishop g7, normal development, and after h3, forcing black to take a decision about the bishop. Now Magnus trade the bishop for the knight, and what in appearance seems to be the good bishop by black because the central pawn is on that square, okay? But this is justified because trading the bishops, black is removing the pieces that is defending the outputs, okay? And after queen takes, rook takes, and bishop takes, okay? Here, you will hear a lot of commentators that will say that, okay, why have the bishop pair and this, okay, potentially the long-term advantage and everything. But really, In this position, the character of the game is more blocked than open, okay, because the central pawns are fixed. So really, and the knight have a strong output on d4. So really, knights are working very well. For sure, somebody can argument that why have an output on d5, but this knight is ready to challenge that output. In other hand, this knight is ready to take the outputs for free, okay? So basically, to prevent the creation of the outputs for black at some moment, sooner or later, white will be forced to give back the bishop pair. Okay, let's see. Short castle, connecting the rooks. Okay, here, the consideration about kick the king in the middle of the board, because there is no queens on the board, maybe an alternative, but really, this bishop can come here to a3, the knight jump can be with check, so it's very risky. So short castle, despite we are in the endgame, it's a necessary move, okay, to correct the rooks in a safe way. So king g2, improving the location of the king, also in some case enabling h1 to try to reach a rupture point. So, well, now black take the output, and here bishop g5. Really, in this game, really seems to be like Magnus was playing against a younger version of him, because Alireza basically is using his same ideas. He's spinning the knight to remove the defender of this square to take the outpost later in the same way as black did that. Okay, so a6, bishop takes, and now knight d5. And here we have almost a perfect symmetry. Okay, we need only the king on g7. Black can play king g7 here to have the perfect symmetry. Okay, so the position from in more or less of the game was very balanced because the plans used by the players was very similar, but we are going to see how Magnus managed to disturb this imbalance and to try to put some small but continuous pressure on the board, and this was translating psychological pressure as well. So now rook d6, very flexible move, and also offering the possibility to white to make a strategic blunder, because now there is a possibility, for example, let's say in case that white takes the knight, now we have a case of a strong knight against a bad bishop because the bishop is being blocked by the central pawn. So this will be a situation very similar in one of the last rounds where Magnus managed to crush strategically the another Norwegian player, Tari. Okay, so let's continue here. Rook ac1. Now bishop d8. Okay, relocating the bishop, looking for new squares. Okay, because here was blocked by the central pawn. Okay, so rook fd1. Why improve the location of the rook? And now king g7 just to cover f6 to be able to move the bishop later in safer conditions. Knight e3 and rook a6, transferring the rook, okay, to throw the 6-1 to put pressure on a2, a3, and now h5, just winning some space, keeping the pawns in the same color of the enemy bishop. This makes perfect sense. Knight c4, okay, and now bishop f6 to protect the pawn. The knight on c4 was attacking the pawn here, bishop c7 to square away of the knight. This is still logical, a bit more risky because the bishop is hanging and potentially the rook can create a threat there. But okay, f6 defending, the bishop is back in this diagonal where it's being blocked by the pawn. So h4, again, using the same idea, rook to the open file. Now, knight e3 offering trades. So, okay, Magnus say, let's trade, but I will kick the control of the open file. Takes, and now here, rook d3. Okay, white is preparing the same idea, using the rook through the third rank. So, bishop d8, moving back the bishop to relocate the bishop to avoid the blocking of the central pawn. And now bishop d1. So, yeah, Alireza is using, he's emulating, Magnus' plans during a big part of the game. Now, black take the invasion square on c1, but despite the position is balanced, it's still, black is more active for sure. Okay, due to the control of the open file and now taking the invasion square. So bishop b3. Okay, probably to look for the d5 square to put pressure on b7 maybe. Okay, now b5, removing the target and starting to win some space. Rook d1. Okay, this is basically a draw offer. Alireza says, do you want to trade rooks? And Magnus say no. Okay, and this is very important. It's important to highlight that he's saying not with having black pieces and with a pretty balanced position. So this demonstrates, the will to win of the world champion. Okay, so now bishop a2, a6, just winning more space. Okay, rook d3, a4, winning more space and fixing the queenside. Okay, this way to fix the queenside is controversial because now black pawns are fixed on lion square. So potentially, with a plan in the long term, the pawn can fold. But we can say the same about white pawns are fixed on that square. So those pawn chains can be attacked from behind on the base, okay, in the future. So king f1, bishop d6, improving the location of the bishop. Now rook c3, offering a new trade. In this case, Magnus cannot avoid the trade of the rooks because avoid the trade of the rooks means that white is going to have the control of the open file. So for that reason, the trade of the rook here no is for free because really black is creating a small damage in the pawn structure. Now the number of islands of pawns increased for white. Okay, so pawn takes, now knight b3, taking the output. The knight cannot be captured because the passed pawn is going to be ready to promote because the king is out of the box. King e1, moving the king close to the knight, and now bishop c5, as we commented before, attacking the fixed target on a3. So here, knight c2, protecting the pawn, and here knight c1, attacking the last for bishop. Bishop d5, pretty forced, check, king e2, and now knight takes on f2. So we can see this amazing way of the world champion to put pressure. He did all this maneuver to capture the pawn on f2, and also important to notice that those pawns on the king side are also fixed on that square. Okay, so bishop c6, white is going to eliminate those pawns one by one, and after f6, knight e3, interference. Now the knight on f2 is hanging. Black have to move the knight, putting pressure in the base, and now knight f1 protecting the base. So bishop takes on a3, bishop takes on b5, and now a4 is going to fall, but c3 is going to fall as well. So all the pawns disappear, and now we have a position where black have an extra pawn. Okay, but apart from the extra pawn, that knight looks in a very suspicious location, but still the bishop can come here to create some intersection points to save the knight. Okay, this extra pawn for black really is very useless, really, because it's in the same flank. Okay, inclusive a defensive plan. The defensive plan for white will be based in trade all the pawns, the 3 pawns for other 3 pawns, and later, sacrificing a minor pieces for the pawn left. Okay, but well, king f3, one square in diagonal of the knight used to be good, and now bishop d4, creating the intersection point on f2 to save the knight on time. Okay, so now g4. Okay, this is a very good strategy and very instructive. To accelerate the draw process, white should trade all the pawns as soon as possible. The player that is in material disadvantage should trade pawns, not pieces, as a general rule. Pawn takes, king takes, knight f2 check, king f3, and now king a6, improving the location of the king to try to put pressure in the isolated pawn on h4. Now knight g3 covering h5, preventing that the king continue advancing. So knight d3, bishop e8. Here, yeah, Alireza is preparing h5, and in case of the refuse of the trade, the f5 square will be an output available for the knight. Knight f4, knight e2, offering trade of pieces. In this case, the trade of the pieces is justified for white because in that way, white can create an opposite color vision situation, and in that way, will be pretty easy to make the draw. Again, we are going to see how the world champion continue putting psychological pressure, moving the knight back, giving to Alireza the possibility to make a mistake that for sure at those levels is almost impossible. This kind of a strategic mistake, but I'm going to show you. For example, the capture of the knight for the bishop now is going to leave an endgame with material and strategic advantage because we have another case of a strong knight versus a bad bishop that is being blocked by the central pawn. Okay, this kind of situation also resembles his game against Tari. Okay, in one of the previous rounds. Okay, so well, knight c5, knight g3, bishop c3, kind of waiting move game, and now h5. Okay, to trade pawns. So here, black plays bishop d1. Okay, and after bishop takes on g3, King takes on G3, and now King G5. Magnus sacrifices a pawn, allows White recover the pawn, but in order to force the creation of the superior endgame with a strong knight against the bad bishop. Okay, really, in another conditions, this should be an easy victory for Black, but in this situation with few pawns on the board, White still have pretty good chance to fight for the draw. And indeed, at this moment, the position is still very balanced, but in a practical point of view, more easy to play for Black for sure. So in F3, now knight B3, looking for the outputs again, bishop F7 check, king G3, knight E2 check, and finally Black managed to transfer the knight from the outputs on D4 to the outputs on F4, being ready to capture the pawn to play a kings and pawns endgame with an extra pawn. That in normal situation, that should be one of the easiest way to convert the game, but the trouble is that the pawn on F6 is a backward pawn, and the pawns are blocked, and White is going to be ready to take and to preserve the opposition. King G3 takes. Okay, and now this is a theoretical draw position because White can win the opposition and really Black cannot make progress. But the player have to demonstrate that. Okay, so King H3, King H6, King H4, now King G7. Okay, here, the King on G7. Now White cannot win the opposition again. So King G3. If Black improves the location of the king, White is ready to recover the opposition. So now Magnus starts to run to the other flank and using the diagonal probably to confuse more. Okay, so King F2, King E7, King E2, King E8. Okay, this is a waiting move, just inviting White to improve the location of the king forward first. So now King E3, King D7, King D3, King D6, and here, we are going to see after a perfect game, with almost without mistakes. Now, Alireza, probably was tired, just make a big blunder, playing King C3, allowing Magnus wins the opposition and the game. After King C3, King C5, he's losing on the spot and resign immediately, okay? So, yeah, this game seems to be like a big blunder of the Iranian grandmaster, but really this is consequence of all the continuous pressure, We have in move number 70, almost really during to get this position, Alireza have to overpass a lot of challenge and difficult situations. So it's very easy to say, okay, what a silly blunder or something like that, but really you have to be there with all the psychological pressure and also facing the best chess player in the world. Okay, so with this decisive result, Magnus becomes in the champion of this edition of the Norway Chess Classic. Okay, still, one round to spare. Tomorrow they will continue with the last round, but we have already a champion. Okay, so well, I hope you enjoy the comment. Okay, if you have a positive comment, you can leave in the description of the video. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you soon. Bye.